Guys, welcome to the book review. This week we are doing the second book in the Bourne series, the Bourne Supremacy. So if you guys have been enjoying these book reviews, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I drop my next video. If anyone has book recommendations you want me to do reviews on in the future, you can leave them down in the comments. So if you guys missed last week's book review or just want a refresher on the series, I will leave a link up in the corner and I will also leave a link down in the description so you can go and rewatch it. Review formula as always, we're going with summary, cons, pros, final thought, and ranking. With all that out of the way, let's hit the intro. So this book actually takes place several months after the first book. David and Marie have actually gotten married in the meantime and have started this sort of quaint little life. Everything's going well. David's teaching at the college and Marie's off doing her thing. So in the meantime, in the Far East, this assassin has now taken the name Bourne and started a very high-profile series of killings. All these killings actually draw the attention of the CIA, the US government, and everyone because they are being orchestrated by one man named Shenzhou Yang. Marie actually gets kidnapped, which forces David Webb to switch mentally into his Jason Bourne persona. His Bourne persona is then forced to go take down the fake assassin and to rescue Marie. Okay, so our first pro of the book is actually the duality between David Webb and Jason Bourne. I really do love the aspect of this book because I think Ludlum writes this super well. He gives us a good insight into what's going on mentally within David's head. There's a really good scene that demonstrates this dynamic and it's relatively early in the story. David Webb is walking past this crowd of students and Bourne just completely freaks out and takes over because Bourne's like, if I'm going to assassinate someone, this would be how I would do it. And it's really good to see that Bourne isn't completely gone. David's still in control, but Bourne will have these flashes of survival instincts. And to me, these are really important scenes because it shows that David's not completely just himself alone in his head. He still has the Bourne thing, and it makes sense because what he went through was super traumatic, and you're not going to be able to get rid of that very easily. And scenes like this show that it's going to be a really hard struggle. I think this really edges the second book above the first because we can finally get David Webb. In the first half or so of the book, David Webb's more or less in full control and Bourne's just kind of backseating. We'll get him interrupting a couple of times. But for the most part, David Webb's in command and we can finally get his personality, get his thoughts on the world. And I think this edges the first book out because for the most part, it was just the Bourne personality. I really do like the Bourne personality, but I want to see David Webb also, and I think Ludlum finds a really good balance within the first part of this book. The second pro is actually Marie, and in this book, Ludlum finally addressed one of my bigger complaints with the first book. Because in the first book, I said that I don't think he spent enough time with Marie, and he finally fixes that in this one. We spend large chunks of the story with her, and I think she does really benefit from it. So another really big part of why I do like Marie in this book is that she starts to adopt a lot of the survival instincts Bourne had taught her in the last book. I really think her adopting the survival instincts of Bourne helps her in two major ways. One, I think it makes her a lot more useful because now she can more or less take care of herself if this situation does arise. And two, it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to be in such a stressful situation, you're going to pick up some survival tips. And I think it's a logical extension of their relationship because it makes sense. It does really make sense that she would pick up this stuff throughout the various adventures that they were on, and I just think it makes her a better all-around character. So the third pro I really do appreciate about this book is Robert Ludlum finally fixed his time problem. I really need to explain this because if you watch my first video, you know I really don't love the Carlos plotline and how much time he spent on this. But in this book, Ludlum really does fix this because he doesn't have any unnecessary side plots. And I really do appreciate it because it narrows the focus and it allows Marie to develop as a character, which I really appreciate. And I think he just did a really good job managing his time within this book. So for my first con, I'm going to have to go back to my pro I mentioned, which was the duality between Jason and David. So I originally put that on there in the pros section because I really liked that aspect of Ludlum's writing. I think he really did a good job. I think it was effective to show that the two of them were at war. They weren't one person. But I feel like Robert Ludlum completely dropped the ball on this, because what I mean is, for most of the story, Jason Bourne is in control. We will get spurts where we'll see David, but 90% of the book, Jason Bourne is the dominant personality. I don't necessarily mind that. I just feel like with completely sidelining David, we lose a good chunk of what makes this a good dynamic. I personally want to see David's reaction to what Jason is having him do. And I feel like if you just sideline it, it's not as fun to see just Bourne in command. I want to see the conflict between what David's thinking and what Bourne is having him do. I get that it needs to happen. Bourne needs to take over. But I feel like I said before, Ludlum completely just forgets an aspect of the character, and that is an interesting aspect, that he has a dual personality. I feel like Robert Ludlum should have pushed that plot forward instead of just completely forgetting it. I think to make this book better, we could have constantly had a battle between Bourne and David. We have a bit of a battle, but it's not as much as I think it really needs to be effective. And I feel like if he'd pushed it more, we could have gotten much more character development out of Jason as well as David within this whole entire book. Alright guys, final thought ranking here. I really do like this book. It's a continuation of what we all love in the first book, with a lot of really good and key character development from the last book. So I'm going to give the Bourne Supremacy an 8 out of 10. If you've read this book, I would be extremely interested in to hear your reviews on it, so you can post those down in the comments as well. As always guys, if you've enjoyed the book reviews, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I drop my next video. If you guys have any book recommendations you want me to read and do reviews on in the future, don't forget to drop those in the comments as well. So next week we will be finishing the first 3 Bourne books with the Bourne Ultimatum. Don't forget to follow me on all these social media platforms so you can get all the information about the videos I'm working on.